Welcome to Part VII of the Master Subject Treatise on Mergers and Acquisitions Law in India. In this section, we dive deep into the foreign exchange framework that governs cross-border M&A, focusing on FEMA, FDI, and ODI rules. This part builds on the foundational concepts introduced in earlier sections, offering a comprehensive look at the regulatory landscape for both inbound and outbound investment. Whether you're a student, practitioner, or just curious about how cross-border deals are structured in India, this video will clarify the key rules, recent amendments, and practical considerations you need to know. This treatise continues directly from Parts I, VI, where the basics of FEMA and the distinction between automatic and government routes were first introduced. In Part VII, we expand on these concepts, focusing on the complete foreign exchange framework. The rules discussed here are frequently updated, so it's essential to always check the latest RBI and DPIIT notifications before acting on any transaction. This ensures compliance with the most current sectoral caps and procedural requirements. VII is structured to cover all critical aspects of cross-border M&A in India. It includes the FEMA regulatory architecture, entry routes, sectoral caps, pricing guidelines, reporting obligations, and the overseas investment framework. Each chapter is designed to provide clarity on the rules and their practical application, ensuring you understand both the letter and the spirit of the law. This overview sets the stage for a detailed exploration of each topic in the following scenes. Foreign investment in India is governed by a layered regulatory stack. At the top is the Foreign Exchange Management Act, 1999 FEMA, which empowers the RBI to regulate capital account transactions. Supporting FEMA are the NDI rules, which specify permitted instruments, entry routes, and sectoral caps. Additional regulations cover payment mechanics and reporting, while the consolidated FDI policy provides narrative guidance. The RBI Master Direction offers operational clarity and is updated regularly to reflect changes in the rules. Key point in the regulatory stack is the sequencing of policy changes. For example, a DPIIT press note may announce a new sectoral cap, but it does not have legal force until the corresponding amendment to the NDI rules is notified by the Department of Economic Affairs. This sequencing determines the effective date of any policy liberalization or restriction, which is crucial for deal timing and compliance. Foreign investment in India can proceed under two main routes, the automatic route and the government route. Under the automatic route, no prior approval is required, provided sectoral caps and conditions are met. The government route, however, requires prior approval from the relevant ministry or department, and is typically reserved for sensitive sectors like defense and broadcasting, or for investments from land border countries. The majority of FDI inflows use the automatic route. Sectoral caps define the maximum foreign investment allowed in different sectors. These caps are revised frequently and have been liberalized in many areas. For instance, insurance and telecom now allow up to 100% FDI under the automatic route, subject to specific conditions. Other sectors like defense and multi-brand retail have mixed or government route requirements. Some sectors, such as lottery and gambling, prohibit FDI entirely. Always verify the current cap for your sector before proceeding. Insurance sector is a prime example of frequent regulatory change. Over recent years, the cap has increased from 49% to 74% and even up to 100% for qualifying structures subject to oversight by IRDAI. Life Insurance Corporation (LIC) has historically had a lower cap, but this too is subject to change. These rapid amendments highlight the importance of checking the latest notifications before structuring any deal in this sector. Telecom services now allow up to 100% FDI under the automatic route, subject to licensing and security conditions. Defense, on the other hand, has a mixed structure, up to a certain percentage under the automatic route with government approval required beyond that, especially where access to modern technology is involved. These sector-specific nuances are crucial for compliance and deal structuring. Space sector has seen significant liberalization, with differentiated caps for activities like satellite manufacturing and launch vehicles. Multi-brand retail trading, however, remains under the government route with strict conditions. These examples show how sectoral caps are tailored to the unique risks and opportunities of each industry, and why sector-specific due diligence is essential. Third sectors are completely off-limits for foreign direct investment. These include lottery business, gambling, chit funds, nidhi companies, real estate, except construction development, manufacture of cigarettes and tobacco products, and atomic energy. These prohibitions reflect broader policy concerns and are strictly enforced, so any proposed investment in these areas must be carefully vetted. Press Note 3, 2020 introduced a special restriction for investments from countries sharing a land border with India. Any investment, direct or indirect, from such countries requires prior government approval, regardless of the sector. This rule also applies to changes in beneficial ownership, making due diligence on ownership structures critical for compliance. Land border restriction extends to indirect investments and changes in beneficial ownership. If a transfer results in beneficial ownership by a restricted country, government approval is mandatory. The definition of beneficial owner is not fully detailed in the FDI policy or NDI rules, so reference is made to other Indian statutes, adding complexity to compliance checks. Investments from China, including Hong Kong and Macau, are subject to particularly cautious case-by-case government scrutiny. Approvals consider the investor's sector, background, shareholding structure, and governance. This reflects the discretionary and fact-specific nature of government-route approvals for land border countries. 2025 DPIIT press note clarified that bonus share issuances to existing non-resident shareholders in FDI prohibited sectors do not breach the prohibition, provided the shareholding pattern remains unchanged. This is because a bonus issue is a capitalization of reserves, not a fresh capital inflow. Such clarifications help address practical uncertainties in the evolving regulatory framework. Rule 21 of the NDI rules sets an asymmetric pricing principle for equity transactions. For inbound investments, the price must not be lower than the prescribed fair value, acting as a floor. For outbound transfers by non-residents, the price must not be higher than the fair value, acting as a ceiling. This structure prevents undervalued inbound investment and overvalued outbound payments, safeguarding against disguised capital flight or outflow. For listed Indian companies, Rule 21 pricing is determined by SEBI guidelines. These include the SEBI issue of capital and disclosure requirements, regulations for new issuances, and the SEBI delisting of equity shares regulations for delisting transactions. FEMA simply adopts the SEBI determined price as the relevant benchmark, streamlining compliance for listed entities. Unlisted companies, Rule 21(2), A Roman II requires that the price for equity instruments issued or transferred to non-residents is not lower than the fair value determined by any internationally accepted pricing methodology. This valuation must be certified by a chartered accountant, a SEBI-registered merchant banker, or cost accountant. The valuation certificate is typically valid for 90 days, making timing a key consideration in deal planning. Convertible instruments, such as compulsorily convertible preference shares or debentures, must have their price or conversion formula determined up front at issuance. The conversion price cannot be lower than the fair value at issuance, preventing the use of delayed conversion to circumvent the floor price requirement. This ensures transparency and fairness in structuring such instrument. Rule 7 of the NDI rules provides a carve-out for rights issues to existing non-resident shareholders in unlisted companies. The rights issue price need only match the price offered to resident shareholders, with no separate FEMA fair value certification required. However, if rights are renounced and acquired by another party, the full Rule 21 pricing applies, ensuring fair value protection for new entrants. When a transaction triggers multiple pricing regimes, FEMA, SEBI SASD, and Companies Act valuation each must be satisfied independently. The SASD Regulation 8 floor and FEMA Rule 21 floor serve different purposes and may not always align. Deal teams must ensure the agreed price clears all applicable floors and ceilings, which can add complexity to deal structuring. All foreign investment reporting in India is centralized through the FIRMS portal, managed by the RBI. Indian companies through their authorized dealer banks must file the prescribed forms within statutory timelines. Non-compliance with reporting is a separate contravention from pricing or sectoral cap violations and can attract penalties under FEMA. Several forms are used for reporting foreign investment transactions. Form FC-GPR is filed within 30 days of allotment for fresh equity issuances to non-residents. Form FC-TRS is used for transfers between residents and non-residents with a 60-day deadline. Outbound investments use Form ODI, and ongoing compliance is tracked via the annual performance report, and Form FLA for foreign liabilities and assets. When a foreign-owned or controlled Indian company makes a downstream investment in another Indian entity, that investment must comply with the same entry route, sectoral cap, and pricing guidelines as direct foreign investment. It also requires its own reporting, typically via Form DI. This prevents the use of intermediary layers to bypass sectoral restrictions. Violations of FEMA's foreign investment provisions, whether pricing, sectoral cap, reporting, or route, are addressed through the compounding mechanism administered by the RBI. Parties can apply to have contraventions compounded by paying a sum, avoiding more severe penalties. Recent amendments have decriminalized many technical violations, reflecting a shift toward civil penalties for procedural errors, while deliberate violations still attract serious scrutiny. Outbound investments by Indian residents, such as acquiring a foreign company or setting up a subsidiary abroad, are governed by the Foreign Exchange Management Overseas Investment Rules 2022. These rules replace the older ODI framework, consolidating and simplifying the process for both overseas direct investment (ODI) and overseas portfolio investment (OPI). ODI refers to strategic investments by Indian entities in foreign companies, typically involving at least 10% equity or control. OPI covers passive investments below these thresholds. ODI is subject to stricter reporting and compliance, including sectoral and financial commitment limits, while OPI has a lighter compliance framework. This distinction mirrors the FDI-FPI split for inbound investment. The 2022 framework allows Indian entities to establish multi-tier overseas structures, such as foreign subsidiaries with step-down subsidiaries. However, the overseas entity must not engage in activities prohibited for direct investment by Indian residents. Financial commitment limits are based on the Indian entity's net worth, and special rules apply for financial services investments, often requiring prior regulatory approval. Round-tripping involves funds flowing out of India to a foreign entity, which then reinvests back into India. While previously restricted, the 2022 framework now permits limited round-tripping, provided all sectoral caps and reporting requirements are met. However, such structures are closely scrutinized for potential tax or regulatory arbitrage, and may trigger anti-avoidance rules if not commercially justified. Outbound mergers, where an Indian company merges into a foreign company, must comply with the Overseas Investment Framework and the Companies Act procedures. Diligence teams must ensure the proposed offshore structure is permissible under the 2022 rules before incurring significant costs, as government approval or restructuring may be required. VII completes the treatise's coverage of the foreign exchange dimension of M&A in India. We've explored the FEMA regulatory stack, entry routes, sectoral caps, pricing guidelines, reporting and compliance, and the outbound investment framework. These rules form the backbone of cross-border M&A compliance, ensuring transparency and integrity in international transactions. Given the high frequency of amendments to FEMA's subordinate rules, it's vital for practitioners and deal teams to stay updated with the latest RBI and DPIIT notifications. Relying on outdated information can lead to compliance failures and penalties, so always verify the current legal position before executing any transaction. Deal teams should integrate compliance checks into every stage of the transaction process. This includes verifying sectoral caps, entry routes, pricing guidelines, and reporting obligations. Early identification of potential regulatory hurdles can save time and resources and help structure deals that are both effective and compliant. Given the complexity and frequent changes in the regulatory framework, engaging qualified professional advisors such as chartered accountants, merchant bankers, and legal experts is essential. Their expertise ensures accurate valuations, proper documentation, and timely filings, reducing the risk of errors and penalties. Technology platforms like the FIRMS portal have streamlined compliance and reporting for foreign investments. Automated reminders, digital filings, and centralized data help companies meet deadlines and maintain accurate records. Leveraging technology reduces manual errors and enhances transparency in the compliance process. Recent years have seen a trend toward liberalization in many sectors, with higher FDI caps and streamlined procedures. However, sensitive sectors and investments from land-border countries remain tightly regulated. This dual approach balances the need for foreign capital with national security and policy concerns. Consider a cross-border M&A deal in the insurance sector. The deal team must verify the current FDI cap, check for any sector-specific conditions, and ensure compliance with both FEMA and IRDAI regulations. Recent amendments may have changed the cap or approval process, so real-time verification is essential for a successful transaction. For an Indian company acquiring a foreign target, the outbound investment must comply with the 2022 Overseas Investment Rules. The team must assess the structure, ensure the activity is permitted, and file the necessary forms. If the structure involves multiple tiers or financial services, additional approvals may be needed. Suppose a foreign investor from a land-border country seeks to invest in an Indian company. The deal will require prior government approval, regardless of the sector. The team must conduct thorough due diligence on beneficial ownership and prepare for a potentially lengthy approval process given the discretionary nature of such approvals. Common pitfalls in cross-border M&A compliance include missing reporting deadlines, relying on outdated sectoral caps, and failing to obtain required approvals. These errors can lead to penalties, delays, or even deal failure. Proactive compliance management and regular legal updates are essential to avoid such issues. The regulatory landscape for cross-border M&A in India will continue to evolve, with further liberalization expected in some sectors and tighter controls in others. Staying informed and adaptable will be key for deal teams and advisors navigating this dynamic environment. With the foreign exchange framework covered, the next part of the treatise will focus on tax structuring in M&A. This includes slump sales, amalgamations, and demergers, building on the foundations laid in parts II, and VI. Understanding tax implications is crucial for optimizing deal structures and ensuring overall compliance. Summarize: cross-border M&A in India is governed by a complex but well-structured framework. Key elements include the FEMA regulatory stack, sectoral caps, pricing guidelines, reporting obligations, and outbound investment rules. Staying updated, engaging experts, and leveraging technology are essential for successful and compliant transactions. For those interested in deepening their understanding, explore the full LearnSphere AI series, which covers every aspect of M&A law in India. Each part builds on the last, offering a complete subject universe for students and professionals alike. Stay tuned for part VII on tax structuring. Thank you for joining us for this in-depth look at cross-border M&A law in India. By understanding the regulatory framework, staying current with amendments, and applying best practices, you can navigate even the most complex transactions with confidence. See you in the next part, where we tackle tax structuring for M&A deals.